Funding for This Is Nashville comes from you, our listeners, and Music City Prep Clinic, Nashville-based provider for PrEP and offering comprehensive sexual health services in an environment designed to be safe, professional, and shame-free. Learn more at musiccityprep.org.
I'm Khalil A. Colonna, and this is Nashville. My guest today is Metro Councilmember at Large, Zulfat Suara. She's the first Muslim woman elected in the state of Tennessee and the first Nigerian woman elected to any office in the United States. When she's not taking care of and loving on her family, she's loving on her community. She has risen as a leader who speaks out for public safety, fights against hate, and seeks to inspire all Nashvillians to take part in their local government and communities. Growing up in her home country of Nigeria, Suara was an exemplary student that had a thirst for knowledge and achievement. That thirst drives her to this day. So let's learn more about her and see why her mission to give back burns so bright. Councilmember at Large, Zulfat Suara, thank you for being here. Welcome back to This Is Nashville.
Thank you for having me.
For me, this is really a wonderful moment because I came out to Nashville to interview for this job a few years ago, and they set me up with 2 mock interviews. One was with Professor Larry Jenkins from TSU, and the other was with you. And now here you are as my special guest. It feels pretty cool.
I don't think I interviewed you, but I did meet you.
We met? No, we sat down and interviewed. You were one of my mock interviews. I remember.
Oh, I remember coming and they told me this is a new guy coming to the station and we wanted you to meet with him. And I just thought we were talking casually. I didn't know that was part of your interview.
That was a part of it. Yeah. Yeah, that's the magic.
But I had a very good impression. I mean, the voice and the charisma and the confidence. I mean, your radio personality shines through whether you're on or off. And I was just impressed, and I was like, "Oh my God!" So it's great to have you in Nashville.
Thank you very much. It's wonderful to be welcomed here. And so I remember during our interview we spoke about your children.
Yes,
you have 5 of them.
Oh
correct?
My God, you have a really good memory.
You got 5 of them. Correct?
I do have 5 of them.
Okay, so when we were speaking, you said they were all doing very well, but they were having some trouble keeping up with their chores. Let me ask: have they picked up the slack on that end?
I think they're doing a whole lot better. You look. When it comes to raising children, you really have to pick your fights.
Yeah.
And at the time that they were very young, they were excelling in their academics. The academics was very important for me. Their faith is very important for me. And so they're praying, they're reading. That was good. The part that we were lacking was the chores. And every now and then it's like, okay, guys. But they're adults now and they're doing a whole lot better. So that's good.
Okay. I do want to learn. I mean, you're very proud of your children.
I'm very proud of them.
When you reflect back to how your parents raised you and your siblings, what have you tried to replicate and what have you done differently from what your folks did?
Ooh, that's a tough question. I think the one thing that I've tried to do, which is what my parents did for me, was be there for me. The unconditional love. I think it gave me a lot of confidence. Knowing that my parents have my back any time of the day was something that was good. I know that if I get in trouble outside, they will still, I still have a home to come to.
Yeah.
And so the one message I always give my children is that we will always have your back. And no matter how hard and no matter what you're facing out there in the world, you can always come home. Mm-hmm. And we will go through it together. And we have gone through things together. And so that was something that my parents did for me, that I did for my children. Difference. I think being raised in Nigeria and raising children in America are 2 different things.
Yes.
And so back home, respect is very big. Back home, you don't talk back. There's a whole lot of things. But raising children here, you have to understand that you have to give them a voice. And so you have to allow them to talk back with the caveats that I just tell them, I don't mind you having a voice and speaking back and let me know what you think, but let's do it with respect.
Yes.
Right? And so that was the difference, is that they have a platform and they're very wise. Sometimes they say something, I'm like, where did you learn that? How did you come up with that? And my daughter would be like, you, Mom.
Now, I understand. I read a story about you when you were in high school about to graduate.
Yes.
You kind of got in trouble because you got in a fist fight with your best friend.
Yes.
But something interesting about that is how your father reacted.
Yeah.
He wasn't irate.
It wasn't.
He was just very calm.
Yeah.
He didn't even ground you. He
No,
just
he
said,
did not.
I'm a little disappointed. Maybe
Yeah.
you can handle things differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did that mean to you?
You know, I tell everyone that one of my biggest blessing it was my dad, especially for a girl, right? And I think that unconditional love is what I was talking about. We all will make mistakes in life. That was one that I made growing up, one that when I reflected back, I would have done things differently. But it was good that my dad knew that that's not who I am. I just don't get into trouble. Something must have happened. And he used that as a teachable moment to be able to say, okay, Zulfat, this is not how we deal with things. What you did was wrong. Whatever the reasons, you shouldn't have done that. You think you have your reasons, but that's not how you should have dealt with it. And that was a lesson that stood with me. And from that day, I haven't got in a fist fight.
That's good.
There are times that I feel like it, but I'm like, no, Zulfat.
You can't do it.
You can't do that.
You know, my siblings have kids, and I've said this before on the show, they have this adage, my siblings who have kids, they say, you raise the kids you have, not the ones you want. And, you know, for me, it's deep because as someone who doesn't have kids at the moment, maybe one day I will, but I think that's a really maybe rule or good testament to have when raising kids. How have you and your husband been able to raise your 5 children as a collective family unit who supports each other, but to highlight their individual characteristics?
I think one thing that I always bear in mind is that the children did not have to be here. We brought them here. It was our choice to have kids and to have 5, right? And so no matter what lives bring, no matter what we have to do, they have to be the priority, right? And so bearing that in mind is always help. And so for my husband and I, every decision that we make, even when we move to a new country, move to a new city, always revolves around the kids. We always pick their school first. And then we pick our home near the school that we want them to go to. And so, and even with me being busy and doing things now, I believe that is also because of my kids. I want a better world for them. And so they're my kitchen cabinet. They're the one that I talk to. I ask their advice. We do things as a family. I think also because as an immigrant, as a foreigner in a new land, it was hard, but it's also a blessing. The fact that it was just us, my husband, myself, and just the kids, I think it allowed us to become a very close-knit family. And we rely on each other a lot.
Now, parenting is a full-time job. It's a lifelong job.
Oh, it is. It is.
What's it like to be a parent to young adults?
One of the things that I've done, we're still learning. You know, we're not perfect. Sometimes the kids are grown now, and there were things that I did not even know then, right? That they'll be like, oh, Mom, this happened at school, and we just didn't want to say anything. I'm like, you should have said something. And so we did. We you know, we're not the best parents. I always say I would not win the Mother of the Year award. But I tried. I love my kids, and I'm very honest with them. Honesty is one thing that is very big in my house. And so even when I tell them not to do something, I tell them why I don't want them to do it. When I talk about peer pressure, I give them examples from my own life, how I face peer pressure. And so we talk a lot. We always talking. So after we pray together, and after each prayer, we sit down, we talk about each other's day, what worked, what didn't work. And so we're always talking to each other. And I think that helped them. And I think it also helped me. It helps us.
Yes. Okay. So take me back to your childhood in Nigeria. Were your parents very honest with you?
My dad was. I think my mom is too. Interestingly, my mom was the disciplinarian.
Okay.
Right? My dad doesn't discipline, and I think he does in his own way. I think he's the one that talk like I did. Okay. And I found out that I'm very scared of my mom. I don't do a lot of things, not because of my mom, but because of my dad. I hate to disappoint my dad. I hate for him to feel disappointed in me because he loves me so much and he trusts me so much, and he and I are very close that with mom, I felt like, okay, she's just going to beat me and that's the end of it. Okay, right? But with dad, it's like, I don't even want to see the look on his face if I do something. And I think that really helped. And with my kids, interestingly, one of my kids got in trouble in middle school. And the principal called me And it was like, okay, he did this. And it was just when we said we were calling your mom, I mean, it was hyperventilating, like, oh my God, please do not call mom.
Call my dad.
Call dad, do not call mom. And so when I got to school, it was like, okay, calm down. And it's like, it's okay. We'll get through this. And I think not wanting to disappoint your parents, knowing that, they will be there for you, but be honest with you. I think that's the thing. I tell them that you'd rather hear it from me than from outside. Yeah. So we're very honest with each other, and I'm very proud of all of them.
I want to talk a little bit about race and ethnicity.
Yes.
What does it mean to you to come from Nigeria, where being Black and Muslim is commonplace?
Yes.
To Nashville,
where
that's something people aren't very familiar with, and maybe they didn't even know existed.
I tell everyone that racism is not something you think about in Nigeria. You got tribes, you've got classism, you got people that have, people that don't, but not race. That's a different thing entirely. And so it was something new for me until I got here. It's still mind-boggling. It's still interesting. It's still scary up to now, even as I think about it. And so, yes, it was different. It was not something that we deal with. And I've been blessed. Everything that I've done, I thank God for. And I think that everything that I am, also the people that I've met, right? Because I've been in so many different sports. I've been helped by people that are Black, that are brown, that are white. I mean, I've seen the love of strangers. And so it has made me to have a faith in people and to look at people for people.
It's interesting because some people, when they think of a Muslim person, they think of someone of Arab descent.
Yeah.
But not knowing that they're Black Muslims, they're Asian Muslims, they're white Muslims.
They're white
in the
Muslims,
world.
yes.
How do you describe Nashville to the people back home in Nigeria?
I know Nashville to be very welcoming. My first experience in Nashville actually was at an apartment in Bellevue. And I went to the pool with my baby at the time because I don't swim. I sat at the pool with the baby, and this lady came up to me and said, "Can I swim with your baby?" And a white lady, and I was like, huh? What? And so what I've come to learn living here, nowhere is perfect. Right? But the majority of people in Nashville are very nice. In Tennessee, generally, people would smile. People would wave most of the time. It's not perfect. It's not everybody. But generally speaking, people are nice. Part of what I did was lead the American Muslim Advisory Council, which is an organization that we formed because we realized that a lot of people don't know about Muslims. And people were telling our stories and describing us in a way that is different from who we are. So we decided to form this organization as a way to be a bridge between the Muslim community and the larger community, and for us to tell our stories. Like, okay, Muslims are Black and brown and white and all of that, but Muslims are also different in their faiths and in their practice. And so we were able to do that and do a lot of interfaith work. And so I remember bringing guests here from out of state, and one of my good friends, I don't want to name her, said she needed security. She's like, I'm coming to Nashville and I need people around me because I've heard so many things about Nashville. At that time, we were having the opposition to the mosque in Murfreesboro. At that time, we had vandalism at the Al Farouk Mosque. At that time, we had a mosque in Colombia that was burnt down around us. And so people were like, no, we don't want to go to Tennessee. They don't like Muslim. And I'm like, no. That's not Nashville. Nashville is different. When Al Farouk was vandalized, a lot of people came. A lot of non-Muslims came to help clean it up and do a lot of stuff. When Murfreesboro opposition happened, there were Christians and Muslims and everybody that stood up. So I tell everyone that what I've seen and what I've learned is that you cannot stereotype. You cannot put everybody in a box. You cannot say every Black is this, every Muslim is this, every Nashvilleian is this. You cannot do that. You have to meet people where they are and go from there. So Nashville is a very loving, very welcoming place. Majority of the people are nice. They've been nice to us. They continue to be. Do we have our crazies? Yes. Like everywhere in the world.
Oh, yeah.
We have in Nigeria. We have everywhere. We have people that, it's just the way the world is. But those are minorities.
Tell me about your part of town. What is a part of your town, that's your section of Nashville where you live, that really resonates with you, that you love?
So the interesting thing is that, I'm blessed to live in a part of Nashville, work in a different part of Nashville, organizing another part of Nashville that has allowed me to see most of Nashville. So when we were planning to come to Nashville from D.C., and we were looking at the school report card and trying to find a place for our kids, we saw Brentwood and so many different places. But then we saw Bellevue. Bellevue has a lot of good schools, but it's also mid-income, family, nice area for raising kids, not too expensive, not far from Belmead, but, and so we picked Bellevue. And so Bellevue is where I lived and I raised my kids. And so, but I work in North Nashville because I work with Meharry, which is another part of town. And so I go there every day. In fact, my daughter, my youngest kids went to school in Bellevue. My older kids went to school in Bellevue. My younger one went to school in North Nashville.
Okay.
And so I was able to see that part of town. And then because of my work with AMAC, which is with the immigrant community, I do a lot of work in Southeast Nashville. And so that's why I said, and I always tell everyone this, they'll say, which mosque do you go to? I said, I go to all of them. I go to all of them because I believe they're all my communities and I'm always in different parts of Nashville. And so living in Bellevue, it was a choice because of the school when we first came. Working in Nashville, it's opened my eyes to a lot of things that happen within the African-American community. And then working with AMAC, also had the opportunity to work with the immigrant community. So all of Nashville. I didn't mention East because I didn't do much in East, but it's close enough to downtown that. But yes, that's how I see my Nashville, and that's why for me the work that I do and the way that I look at things is about all of Nashville. And so I have to think about what will North Nashville think, but also balance with what will West Nashville thoughts will be on the decision.
Let's take a quick break. When we return, we'll examine Zulfat Sohara's political career and why she chooses to serve in public office, the things she's learned, and the work she plans to do. Stay with us. This is Nashville.
Funding for This is Nashville comes from you, our listeners, and Music City Prep Clinic, Nashville-based provider for PrEP and offering comprehensive sexual health services in an environment designed to be safe, professional, and shame-free. Learn more at musiccityprep.org.
I'm Khalil Ekalona, and this is Nashville. My guest is Zulfat Sohara, Metro Council member at large. In 2019, she became the first Muslim to be elected to the Metro government and the first immigrant elected to an at-large position. She's also the first Muslim woman elected in the state of Tennessee, as well as the first Nigerian woman elected to any office in the United States. It's quite the list of firsts. So let's talk with the council member at large about her experience serving the people of Nashville. Councilmember Suara, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so let me ask you this. When you ran, why go at large rather than represent a district?
Yeah, that was either very smart or very foolish. Because, when you think about it, if you run district, you need about a couple of hundred votes. At most, maybe 2,000 votes, right? But when you go at large, you're talking about over 30,000 votes. And I had a couple of people that said, why would you do that? We moved to Nashville in 96, and in 2002, I moved to Bolivar, Tennessee. But my work was still in Nashville, so I was coming here a lot. But technically, I was in Bolivar. And so then I came back from Bolivar after 16 years. So people were like, why would you even try something like that? But for me, it's a couple of things. For about 25 years, I was doing advocacy work. My work with the American Muslim Advisory Council started after the anti-Sharia bill. And it's a statewide organization, and we work with everybody. So the people that I work with AMAC were all over the city. Not in one part of the city. And then I was also involved in women advocacy. So I was the state president of the Business and Professional Women of Tennessee for 2 years. I also happened to lead the Tennessee Women's Day on the Hill, which was an organization of about 25 women organization that pull all of them together, organize them to come and speak to our legislators about what's happening. And so working with all of those organizations for so many years, I know that the people that I've talked to that I know in the city are not just in one place. They're not just in Bellevue. They're all over the city. And I also believe that the work that I've done in advocacy for 20 plus years should resonate with a whole lot of people. And so that was why I chose to. And I also know that I wanted to deal with issues that affect everybody. I'm in a very unique position in the sense that as a Black, Muslim immigrant woman, my issues are the same as a whole lot of people.
Yeah.
And oftentimes what I've seen is that for different marginalized groups, we deal with our issues in silos. I cannot afford to. I'm as Black as I am Muslim. I will always be Black. I will always be a woman. And I will always be a Muslim. And so I cannot compartmentalize those issues. And it was very important for me to say, look, we're all dealing with the same things. Let's bring it all together. And so it made sense to me to do at large. I'm glad that the people of Nashville believe in me and give me the opportunity. But I really felt strongly about what I wanted to do is bring more people together and work for more people and try to have a world where we all work together. So.
Now, this may seem like a strange question, but I think it's appropriate. Did you expect to win?
Yes.
Because some people run for office and don't expect to win.
That's an interesting question. I think I want to win. I had hoped to win. I wasn't sure I would win. Does that make sense? Because it's a uncharted area, and I did not know about no immigrant has ever run at large or won at large before. I did not know all those stats until I won, and so I really wasn't thinking about that. I was propelled by what I saw, what I wanted to do, the issues that I thought were important to me, and I had a couple of people said, "No, that's stupid. Don't do that. Do the district." Some people said, wait a couple of years. And I'm like, no, this is now. Let's do it now. And then let's leave it to the voters. And again, I kept saying I'm blessed and I'm lucky and I'm grateful that the people of Nashville elected me.
You mentioned that you had no intentions to be the first of so many categories, which you are. And in our country, in this culture, society, we make a lot of a big deal about all of the firsts and everything. Do you feel pressure, being the first, Muslim woman elected to the state and first Nigerian woman elected to any office in the country, let alone what you're doing locally? Do you feel pressure to achieve and maybe overachieve so that path is opened a little bit wider for someone similar to you who wants to follow in your footsteps?
I wouldn't use the word pressure. Not all the time. I think there might be times when you feel like you have to take a stand for all the people that you represent. But I think for me, I've always looked at it as just blessed. I'm very grateful. And so with that gratitude comes the responsibility, right? And also what a lot of people may not understand is because of my faith tradition, I believe that whatever we do in this world, we are accountable for in the next. And so every decision that I make, it's also about, can I stand before my Creator and say, did I do all that I can do in this particular position? Not everybody is blessed to be elected. Not everybody is fortunate enough to have the opportunity to represent a whole lot of people. That is a big weight and responsibility. And so I consider it an honor. I consider it a privilege to be able to have that baton. And so every day I want to do my best to carry it to the best of my ability. And I think if I stay true to who I am, if I continue to do what I believe in, if I continue to be me, then it's not that much of a pressure because I came in here for a reason because of who I am, right? Yeah. And if I am me every day, and it is the me that run, it is the me that is here, then it's not, there's no conflict. It's me all the time. And that made it, a little bit easier because I have to live to what I believe. And so I'm just lucky. I'm just blessed.
You work with a lot. You work on a lot of what we say across the aisle issues and building coalitions with folks. For example, yours and Jacob Cupin, who represents District 19. You had a resolution about Palestine and Israel.
Yes.
Tell me about why that was important and how you reacted to the pushback that you both got.
Yeah. Well, again, it has to be about people, and it has to be about putting people first, and it has to be about, seeing each other as people, right? That's always been very critical to me. I spend a lot of time fighting against prejudice against Muslims. And I always talk about don't compartmentalize, don't stereotype, don't do all of that. And so I try not to do that as well. When it comes to the situation in Gaza, as a Muslim woman, I tell everyone that the last year has been very tough for me because I see the death. I see people dying. Mm-hmm. And for me, I do not for 1 second want the Israeli people to die, nor do I want the Palestinian people to die. I think what's been frustrating for me is that I see people on one side and we're not looking at this as a human issue. Mm-hmm. And so I became a voice, not too loud, but in my own little corner to speak up for the people of Palestine, because I think a lot of people were not in the space that I occupied. Not a lot of elected officials, whether local, state, or national, were speaking for the Palestinian people. And so as a Muslim, I felt like I wanted to be their voice. But being their voice, it's very critical for me to also let people know that that does not mean that I do not represent my Jewish constituents. That does not mean that I want innocent civilians to die. That does not mean that I was happy with what's going on that side. I want no one deserves to be put in that place. But it has to be both sides. You cannot talk about the lives of the Israeli people and then not feel anything for the Palestinian, and vice versa. And so it was very important to me as I go and I ask for a ceasefire and I talk about the lives of the Palestinian people, that I continue to show that, look, I am also asking for a return of the hostages. I'm also asking for peace for the people of Israel. I'm also asking for a two-state solution where everybody can live in peace. It was very important for me to continue to say, doing one does not mean you cannot do the other. You can do both. And so when we started talking about what happened over there, there's so many iterations. Jacob and I, and Jacob, same thing, a very nice, kind young man, Jewish, but also believe in people and believe. So he and I we talk about what's happening all the time. He check on me, I check on him. How are your people doing? How's things in Israel and things like that? Because we see each other as friends, as colleagues, as people. And so we wanted to do something. I wanted to do something because I felt like there's so many people in Nashville that are impacted by what's going on over there. On both sides, right? Our good friend Avi posted that passed away Jewish. When the attack happened on October 7th, it was close to where his sister was living in Israel. And so somebody local. And then I know someone who is a Palestinian that have lost hundreds of family members back in Palestine, Osam Bahur. And so there are people that are impacted by what's going on. There are people whose life is turned upside down. There are children who are having to watch this on both sides. I'm wondering what world do we live in? And so out of that, I told Jacob I wanted to do a ceasefire resolution because I just want this to stop. I'm tired of seeing kids dying. I'm tired of seeing headless baby. I just can't. So I said, I want this to stop. I want this to stop for everybody's sake. And so that's when we came together and we tried to put something together that focused on the people here, but also talk about what happened over there, what's happening over there. And we try to do our best. It's one of what I've called a very balanced resolution, in my opinion, put together for us. We take a look at it. I looked at it, sent it to him. He looked at it. He made his correction. He said he doesn't want this, doesn't want that. We put in every correction that he made, and then we put it forward, and then all hell broke loose.
Yes. How'd you react to the hell breaking loose?
Sad, disappointed, flabbergasted. Anytime there's a tragedy, people come at it with different intentions. For some, it's politics. For some, it's real. People are going through a lot of pain, and my pain cannot be more than someone else's. I have to acknowledge that people are reacting somewhat because of the pain that they're going through, and that pain may be making them not see other people's pain. I get that, and I will respect that. But there are people that take it as an opportunity to be famous, and they want to get on there. And so those are the people that are like, okay, but it was very disappointing. It took us a lot of time. It took a lot of us coming together and trying to balance it. Majority, we had about 16 of our colleagues signed on to it. A lot of them did not want to do anything because they know we represent all sides in Nashville. And so it took a long time. People did not want to take a side, but that was one that everybody felt like this is very balanced. And a lot of them were going to support it. And we could have gotten it passed, but when the pushback came, interestingly, a lot of the pushback came at both of us, both at me and at Jacob. I'm old. I've had attacks before. Jacob is new. And I think some of the attacks were coming from the Jewish community, and it was really affecting him. I mean, it was really putting him in a really bad spot. And so I told him, for his sake, I will withdraw it. I think it was a good thing. I think our colleagues were going to pass it. I think it was good to say something for the Jewish community and the Palestinian community in Nashville, that we stand with you and we want this to stop. That's the way that I look at it. But if it's going to create more problem for you, then we're not going to go there. If it's not doing what we want it to do, and it's not bringing people together, and it's still going to tear people apart, that was not what the intention is.
Have you and Councilmember Cupin talked about it since you pulled it?
We talk all the time. I had an event for Reverend Lawson and Lewis right after, where we said something about it, and it was right after the Nazis match. So I had a Jewish person speaking, Jacob too, and Jacob has had so many events about the hate that we see that he's asked me to speak at. I think for us, we wanted to make sure that we're very clear that we as Nashvillians will always stand together, and that we as Nashvillians would not allow oppression or hate or anything towards any of our community. And so Jacob and I and the council, I know, the vice mayor, the mayor, are very on the same page as that we will not let that division creep into Nashville. And no matter what happened, we will continue to stand together. So that's where we are. We continue to talk. I wish we could have done the ceasefire resolution. I wish the country will, up to now, do a ceasefire resolution. I hope all parties will come together and agree on a ceasefire and the dignity of lives and the sanctity of lives. I wish that's happening already. For all the people involved, there's so many people on both sides. I've seen Israelis that said they want this to stop. I've seen Palestinians that want this to stop, and I just wish that it would stop. The loss of life is just too heavy. And so I know it's a long answer. It's very, very sad. It still brings me to tears. It's still very depressing. I still don't understand why we cannot separate the two. You cannot blame all Palestinians for Hamas. And you cannot side with the Israeli government to kill innocent Palestinians. You have to be able to separate the two. And people are not. And I don't understand. I still don't understand why. For me, it's about, and I tell people that if the table were turned, I'll still be saying what I'm saying. As a mother, I cannot just be quiet to just keep saying what's happening. And I kept saying this on both sides. I want all the hostages released. Their lives are very important as well. And so I'm not taking sides on that. I'm talking about lives, period. Lives, innocent lives, period.
Let's take one more break. When we come back, we'll talk with Metro Council member at large Zulfat Suara about what being an American citizen means to her. This is Nashville. I'm Khalil Ekolona, and this is Nashville. My guest is Metro Councilmember at large Zulfat Suara. She's widely known as someone who speaks out against hate, bigotry, and the inequalities that are present in our city and country. She chooses to lead with love and understanding and has become a bastion of support for other Nashvillians. So let's get into a little bit of her life and philosophy. Councilmember Suara, again, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so Metro Council, 40 people.
40 people.
How, look, it sometimes can be hard with a team of 5 or 6 people. How do y'all make 40 people work?
I've got 5 kids, right? I mean, look, even with 5 kids, they're all different people, different personality, different characters, different ideologies. And so I have to learn to raise them. Why be mindful of that? You know, I tell people that I have a kid, the one that the principal called about, that when he does something wrong, I just have to look at him. And he will understand that, okay, mom is saying stop now, right? But then I have another kid. I'm blinking, I'm shaking my head, and he's looking at me like, is there something in your eyes? So you have to know who you're dealing with. And something that I've learned a long time ago is that I try not to make things personal. And I try to believe that everyone is doing the best that they can. I don't come from a place of you're a bad person or you're doing this the wrong. I don't. And so that allows me to sit and to talk to people and to understand where they're coming from. And then to be able to put forth my argument and where I'm coming from. And I found out that when we do that, we take the time to talk to each other. There's a whole lot that we realize that we might be coming at it from different angles, but we're actually trying to get to the same place. And once we get to that realization, it's easy to compromise and say, okay, oh, well, you have the same intention, although you're looking at it from a different place. Why don't we come at it like this? And then that's where that comes from. And so just knowing that, and even with my constituents, I always tell them that, you know, you may not always agree with my decision, but I owe you an explanation of why I did what I did. I believe I serve with both last time and this time people that really care, and a lot of people that wants to do the right thing for Nashville. That makes my job easy because we're not always at odds with each other. Most of the time we agree. A lot of things that we do is on consent when you look at our agenda, because we agree, we put the people first. And so when the majority already agree on what is the way we want to go, it helps. Now, every now and then we have things we don't agree on, and then we all say our piece.
Yes. Okay, so I want to know, who on Metro Council do you really kick it with? Like, who are your homegirls and homeboys on Metro Council?
You don't want me to do that. Come on, I keep going back to, I'm a mother of 5, right?
Yes.
They're different, but I love them all the same. You kind of pick which one you are. No, I do have friends. I do have people that by virtue of what we do, a lot of the women, and I hang out a lot. The minority caucus people, because of what we do, the immigrant caucus people, a lot of what we do, some of the guys. And so there's a lot of great people on council, and I'm just blessed to be serving with them. So, but I would not pick a favorite.
Okay. I tried. Okay. So you arrived in the United States 1993,
1993,
right?
yes, sir.
What were some of your first impressions of this country 31 years ago?
31 years ago. Just coming in. The food, the lack of respect.
What do you mean?
So when we first came in, we had to stay in an hotel. And so I spent a lot of time watching TV, by the way. That's how I pick up on soap opera. I used to watch One Life to Live. Came on TV, and then the next day I was like, this lady again. And so, but I see kids, the way they talk to adults on TV, and I'm like, there's no respect. So that was something that was very jarring for me, because respect is very big in where I come from. And so if somebody is older, you say sir and ma'am, and that's something that I grew up, and I still do it. I still say yes ma'am and yes sir to a lot of people, and people look at me like,
me too.
Why? That's the way I was raised. It doesn't mean that I think less of myself. It's just, it doesn't matter whether I'm talking to the executive director, the mayor, or the janitor. People are people, and you treat people with respect, and that's just the way it is. And so that was one thing that was like, okay. I also love that in this country, I love the freedom that comes with being an American. I see how people talk to elected officials, right? People say stuff to the president. I'm like, they just said that. You can't do that. So those are some of the things that I really love, that it's a place wherein there's a lot of freedom. The government is not authoritarian. I love that we don't have dictators. And then, of course, everybody likes pizza.
Anchovies?
Yeah. And then burgers, like, oh my God. And so I'm still learning. Like I tell everyone that I'm blessed, and so are my children. They get the best of both worlds. They get the best of both worlds.
I like that you said you're still learning. I think we're all still learning how to be good citizens.
Yes, we have to.
Yeah.
We don't have all the answers. I think it's very dumb for anyone to think that they all set and they know everything. No, I don't. I still learn from my kids. And sometimes, like I said, those kids will say something, I'm like, huh? And that's good. That's a good thing. I want to learn. I want to be a better person always. When I'm wrong, I want to know that I'm wrong. There's an hadith, the saying of the Prophet in my tradition, that says you learn from cradle to grave. From the time you're born until the time you die.
That's right.
You will continue to learn, right? And so I'm still learning.
Now, you ran for a position on the Hardeman County School Board.
Yes.
You lost, but you got 41% of the vote.
Yes, I did.
In an article from the Tennessean's Brad Schmidt about your life, you gave the quote about people abstaining from the vote. You said, quote, if everyone who complained had voted, especially people of color, I would have won.
Yep.
I think we should publish a list of names of people
I still believe
who
it.
didn't vote. And say, okay, you've lost the right to complain, end quote. So I do want to say this. We have a very, very important election coming up pretty soon. And let's just be honest. Tennessee's voter turnout history is really not going to make the Hall of Fame where we stand now. Citizens have the right to vote, but they also have the choice to vote.
Yeah.
Do you feel that people who choose not to vote should not complain about the result of the vote or the actions taken by the people elected?
I believe that. So advocacy is something that I do. Running for office was not something that I was planning to do. So the first time that I ran was in Bolivar. And it was because people would come into I had a CPA firm. People would come into my office and they would complain all day about the school system, about what's going on, about this, about that. And they complain so much. I decided to run, right? And so, but then to lose by like 200 votes.
Yeah.
So that's why I said that people should have come out and vote. You don't have the right to keep complaining if you choose not to vote. Now, if you voted and the outcome is different, that's a different thing. But if you did not even vote, I really think we should publish the names of the people that are not voting. Not for anything, but to be able to say, look, that is your choice. But if you decide not to use that power, people died for the right to vote. There's a whole lot that is riding on it. And then you decide to waste it. No, you lost the right to complain. I still stand by that. That if you did not vote, that's your choice. We're in America, people have a choice. That's good. Use it. But you also lost the right to complain. I want people to understand that not voting, that choice has a repercussion. And if you're going to do that, you have to have the responsibility to understand what that choice means. For me, the choice is you saw something, you could have been part of the difference, you could have made a change, you could have, everything you're complaining about, you could have had it done. You choose not to. And since you made that choice, we're taking your right to complain.
Hey. It sounds like my mom growing up.
Hey, I guess that's part of raising kids, right?
Yeah.
You do this or you do this. It's rights and responsibilities. It cannot just be rights alone. It has to be rights and responsibility. So if you choose to exercise that right, then you take the responsibility that comes with it. That's what I think.
What do you think it will take to get more people to the polls?
It's very complicated. I think a lot of people feel like their voice doesn't matter. It's easy to get mad and say you lose your right and all of that stuff. But as a Black person, I know that it's very complicated. I also know that there are forces out there that makes it impossible for people to vote or to register to vote. People want to do it and sometimes they cannot. I mean, so it's not an easy thing. But my hope is that people understand what that power means. Miss Diane Nash was there in April. And one of the things that she said is that we as the people have to understand that we have the power within ourselves to change our own situations, right? And a big way to do that is through that vote. And so if we have a situation that we're not happy with, that we would like to see change, then we need to use that power. And that power is vote. And so continue to educate people, continue to fight against systems that make it impossible for people to vote. Continue to work at it from all different angles. Continue to let people know that it does matter, that every voice, every vote counts. I think is what we're going to have to do. I don't believe all in one cap or one size fits all kind of solution. I always believe that you have to look at things from different angles. And I think that's what we're going to have to do. We cannot, jokes aside, we cannot just say, oh, you didn't do it, and then no. We have to understand why people are not doing it, and how do we get them there.
You know, in my personal life and in my professional career, on this show even, I've spoken to a lot of people from other countries where the political situations are unstable.
Yes.
They express a desire to engage in our democracy, often stating that how bad they know government can be.
Yes.
Yet we have some naturally born Americans who they kind of act like they could care less about our system of government, or they act apathetic to it. Hey, in almost a sort of depression state when it comes to government and their participation in that. What do you have to say to folks who may take our government system for granted, or who are just super depressed about government and where it is?
So what I tell everyone is that if I can be elected in the state of Tennessee, you can't lose hope. You cannot give up. I mean, it's a system that works because when people participate and we do it, it does work. And so when I talk to folks, I'm like, giving up is not a solution. And if it's people that are taking it for granted, then they need to understand that, again, what is the impact of that lack of choice? I think sometimes people think they've made it, they've arrived, and things are fine and dandy. I know I spent so many years working on the campaign for equal pay for women, right? But I see a lot of women these days feel, okay, we're making so much money, equal pay is not an issue anymore. And I'm like, it still is. It may not be to you, but it still is for a lot of people. And I think that's what people need to understand, that they may be okay in their own personal life. They may be enjoying life as it is. They may have everything that they need. But what about thousands and millions of people that are not? And we're all in this boat together. We're all in this war together. The fact that I'm comfortable does not mean that I should forget the people that are not. It's a responsibility that we have to each other. If we look at it like that our world is better when we are all okay, that our world is better when the majority are doing fine, when it's not just about me and me and me alone, I hope it would encourage people to be more involved. That you might be okay in your little corner, but there's still a lot that is wrong with this system. There's still a lot of people that don't have. There's still a lot of people that sleep outside. There's still a lot of people that don't have food on the table. There's still a lot of people that don't have the education that they need. My kids are doing okay, but what about my neighbor's kids?
Yeah.
Should we forget about them? That's what I tell folks, is that we have a responsibility to make the world we live a better place, and not just ours alone, our own little corner, but our world.
Is that nature of collectivism that you're speaking of, and concern for other people outside of yourself, that's very different from America? America, we're taught to be individuals. A lot of other places in the world are taught to collective. It's about the community first, then the individual.
Yeah.
How can we merge those two here?
Because it's connected. So when I was in Adamant County, I started the Junior Achievement where I take volunteers to school and to talk to kids. And I remember the first set of volunteers that I tried to recruit were elderly women, retired, old. And I was trying to tell them about this great program, Junior Achievement, that I want them to be a part of. And one lady told me, I don't have kids in school. My kids are grown, and you have some that don't even have kids and all of that. And I had to make them realize that, that all of this is connected. The children that are in school that you will go in and spend your time with, help build their life, give them resources, make them somebody in life. You just save them from stealing your cars. Right? You're going to complain the next day that somebody stole your car, somebody came into your front yard lawn, somebody and it could have been that one child that you save in the classroom. So it is very connected. Our world are not as separate as we want it to be. If you allow children to grow, have generational wealth, everybody's doing okay, everybody has fine houses, the value of your home goes up. So there are benefits on the individuals when you actually do that community. Looking at it as isolated, as separate, that's not the way that I'm raised, but I also believe that it helps all of us at the end of the day.
Zulfat Suara is a Metro Council member at large. I want to thank you so much for being here. Thank you for this conversation. Really appreciate it. Thanks to you for tuning in this hour. This is Nashville is a production of Nashville Public Radio. Today's episode was produced by Elizabeth Burton. It was directed by Tasha A.F. Lemley. Our technical director and board operator is Liv Lombardi. The masterminds behind our theme music are Larange and Namir Blade. You can listen back at thisisnashville.org or wherever you get good podcasts. As always, the conversation doesn't end here. Tweet us at This Is Nashville. Find us on Instagram and tell us what you want from our show by filling out our quick survey online. You can also call and leave us a message at 615-751-2500. We may use your message on air. This is Nashville. I'm Khalil A. Colonna. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody, and be good to each other.